The way that these stories handle male trauma is garbage. It's absolute garbage. And because of that, there's no way to measure which one of the men are like morally gray or which one of the which of the women suck or not. There's no way to measure that because the story doesn't treat the trauma of the characters fairly at all. Like with Rhysand, you're absolutely right. Like he absolutely had horrible things happen to him. He was assaulted for longer than his mate has been alive. But then we don't see him conscious of that post A Court of Mist and Fury. And the story really suffers for it. Like, to give Nesta all the shit that Rhysand gives her during ACOTAR for, like, sleeping around and for drinking and for all of that stuff. And he never once stopped to consider that she was hypersexual as a result of all of the horrible things that had happened to her. Really? Also, that thing where he was coming on to Feyre in the library full of assault victims, that was foul. Absolutely foul behavior. And during ACOTAR, like, while Cassian is, like, mostly healed from the things that had happened to him, and his purpose in the story is to help Nesta get through her shit, for him to just casually be like, oh, you were, like, spiraling for, like, a year, and you were, like, fucking all these dudes, and doing all this drinking, and that's super self-destructive, like, that's very self-destructive. Meanwhile, when I was going through my problems, I went to I went to a village and murdered everybody. These things are not the same, Cassian. And I think for the story to even try to equate them feels shitty, you know? Which is why I am terrified for them when their story comes. I'm absolutely terrified. Because there are certain things, especially about Azriel's backstory, that we know of already. You're not going to be able to do a story where Azriel grows as a character, whether it's with Elaine or it's with Gwyneth. You're not going to be able to do that story without touching on his issues with being Illyrian and his internalized racism. And this is even putting aside Elaine's trauma and all the things that she has dealt with since becoming Fae and before that. Like, I think there's a lot of themes in these books that I think the books want to handle with the level of gravitas and level of respect that they deserve. But in kind of papering over it in some places and then emphasizing it in others, it weakens the story and it makes everybody's trauma look a little bit more amorphous than it should. Like, this shit should hit us in the gut every time. And we're sitting here, a lot of us are sitting here questioning the logic of it based on how the characters act in the present day. And that's the part that sucks. And that's what I would want to see improve in future books.